Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 1011. I have to think about how to say these things. 1011? 1011. I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
And we are here to talk about Doctor Who. Lux, the episode Lux, short for Lux Imperator, not Furiosa Imperator.
Or Luxor Casino.
Or Luxor Casino, or... what else is Lux? Lux Eterna.
Sure.
Lux Eterna is the name of the suite of music that is heard throughout 2001: A Space Odyssey. There
Oh, neat.
Oh, well, more about that later.
More about that later. Obvious allusions to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Clearly.
And Odyssey.
Especially the cartoon part. That was very much 2001 Space Odyssey.
Very much here. So we'll be talking about that. But first, just to, because we are the official podcast of Gallifrey One, the most wonderful Doctor Who convention in the world, from February 6th to 8th next year. Gallifrey One hotel reservations open May the 9th. Hotel Mageddon, everyone. We're unsure of the global political situation in February of 2026, but we will be going for the hotel rooms nonetheless on that day. In the off chance that that the world settles down, and the most important thing is that we can go to Gallifrey One unhindered, perhaps as Canada's fourth territory. Once again, you don't immediately get province status; you have to build up to that. So
Yeah, you got to work for it.
yeah, Alberta did once. We were territories. We were Northwest Territory until 1905, when Saskatchewan and Alberta became provinces. That was the last provinces admitted until Newfoundland in 1949.
Very exciting.
There you are.
I'm a centennial citizen because 1870 is when Manitoba became a province. And I was born in 1970, so on my birth certificate has a little buffalo.
That's
It
right,
says
because
centennial citizen.
you were built and you were born in Manitoba too.
Yep.
You were built in Manitoba too. Let's
See, I
face
was.
it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Pinawa, Manitoba.
That's true. Also announced for Gallifrey One, Anita Dobson's going to be at Gallifrey One. Of course, she is in every single episode of Doctor Who now as someone in a bit that's getting a little old already, and we're 2 episodes
thank
in.
you.
Well, get ready to see. She'll just pop up wherever. You'll be like in a different panel one week, and also Anita Dobson's here for some reason.
She's got to just talk off screen to somebody who isn't there, too. Like, there's no camera. She's
turning
just
off screen.
talking. She's just, narrating to this meta audience. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't know
Turns
if
out she just goes on set and does this. Nobody has any clue. They can't get rid of her.
I don't know if you noticed.
Susan Twist did the same thing last year, or this year.
She did. She was everywhere.
She was everywhere.
I don't know if you noticed this, but in the I'm just jumping ever so slightly into the review part of the podcast, but in the Unleashed, when they talked to her and she did her line to didn't do the line to camera, something about, I don't remember what her last line was.
The trick of the light.
Trick of the light. Then she did a big wink, and they cut the wink, which is why it seems even more abrupt than normal. An episode ending. They should have freeze framed it. I mean, do a David Maloney or Graham Harper at the end
with the sitcom music,
yeah, or something. It just I don't know. RTD episode endings always feel so abrupt. Like the titles crash in way too soon. They don't build. I remember like when Queen Victoria and Tooth and Claw and Torchwood will be ready, and like the music is just coming up, and then it just suddenly comes in, and it just feels like it's anticlimactic,
And despite all that, this was shorter than last week.
Yeah, it was. It was as we get into it. Doctor Who Lux Season 2 Episode 2 review. I know that Chris has a heaping list of notes.
Yeah, I've got it, but yeah. You haven't seen this know-how heaping, but
I know
I've got some points to raise.
I know exactly how long it's going to be. And you weren't here, Chris. You haven't been in a live review since Empire of Death.
I guess so, yeah.
Which we all felt at the end of that. And so, Warren, I know that I let Heather go
Felt
first.
my presence or felt my absence?
No, yeah, we all felt death at the end of that of the episode. Warren, I know that Heather went first last week, but because Chris hasn't been on a live review,
of course,
for 2 episodes spaced over 10 months. Chris, what are your initial thoughts of Doctor Who, Lux? Please tell us.
I don't know. I watched it twice. I watched it at 1 a.m. when it dropped.
Okay.
And then more or less around 1 p.m. yesterday.
Right.
So half a day apart.
Okay.
And my initial thoughts were, I don't know what to make of this. I'm going to wait to see what you guys have to say to know what I think. I didn't dislike it. I don't know if I really liked it a lot. We'll find out. We'll find out
over the course of this therapy session.
Robot Revolution, I'd say, is the more enjoyable of the two.
Ooh, shots fired. Warren, your initial thoughts here.
I'm kind of in a similar boat to Chris. I enjoyed it the first time out, and then I watched most of it again this morning. I watched it like a proper human being at 8 a.m. yesterday over breakfast, and I did the same thing today. I liked it the first time. The second time, the cracks are starting to show, which is so. But I'll say what I liked. I think they absolutely nailed the animation. Like, I thought they did a fantastic job with like, especially the old timey cartoon at the start. That pretty much looks exactly like old-timey cartoons of the time. I think they just absolutely got that spot on. I thought it was really cool that when he turns 3D, he gets uglier and uglier. He's got like weird hair coming off his antennas and all that stuff. And I'm like, I thought that was kind of a neat, I don't know if there's anything more to it than just making it look cool, but it was kind of, I don't understand why he goes back to 2D after that when he floats off into the ether. I liked also that they just address right off the top. They go, we're in Miami. We're both of color. This is going to be a problem. I'm like, good. That's cool. And also liked when she talks about Rock Hudson, and she's the age and the profession where, she'd know about him because of the HIV thing. That makes total sense given, the time she's from, right? Because why would she know about Rock Hudson at the start? Even at the time, I think, when he was diagnosed, as a kid, I asked my mom who he was because he wasn't even that famous anymore, right?
Yeah.
And that would be the late 80s, I think, or early 90s?
I think 80s it was,
Yeah, I think it was the 80s. Anyway, I thought that was interesting that they did that because it's, And then let's just address the elephant in the room. I didn't hate the Who fans. I thought that was kind of fun. Like, I was like, that could have been dumber. Is it dumb? Yeah, a little bit. It's also kind of fun. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, I'm just going to throw this out there here and now. So I didn't think of this at the time quite in the same way, but as far as the Doctor Who fans are concerned for this episode, a lot of people said they didn't like it, including some folks in the chat watching this now. Some folks say they didn't care for it. And my initial thought was, maybe they're seeing a little too much of themselves in there.
Well, certainly.
God knows I did.
We know we're annoying. I thought that was funny. Like,
Kat had the opinion of, maybe they don't see enough of themselves in there. Because I think of Doctor Who podcasting, for example, us and Tacky on TV, Who's He, Pharaoh's Project, whatever, the whole bunch of them. Middle-aged white dudes. Not a single middle-aged white dude in that crowd of 3 people.
Good.
So actually, maybe the fans didn't see enough of themselves in there to like
because
them.
Middle-aged white dudes have never been represented fairly. Let's come on. Anyway, I didn't mind all that.
Who's going to speak for us, Warren? Where do we on our platform of podcast?
When is International White Middle-aged White Dudes Man Doctor Who Fans Day?
Anyway, moving swiftly on from that nonsense.
Right.
I thought that could have been a lot worse. Is it kind of stupid? Yes, it is, but it's still kind of fun. I thought the actual villain, Lux, was just kind of slight. He's just kind of this dude who runs around and goes, "Don't make me laugh," and he just kind of got annoying after a while.
Yeah.
The actual, he doesn't really feel like he's much of a threat, even though it clearly is. It's just like
he can create fire out of nothing.
But he just wasn't doing it for me as a villain. Also, I just got to say, all these Pantheon dudes, with the possible exception of Sutek, who just doesn't get used properly.
Yeah.
They're kind of lame. They're kind of lame so far. There's probably a couple more coming down the hopper. And I'm like, I don't care about this Pantheon thing. You got to wrap this up.
I know.
I don't care about Mrs. Flood, and I don't care about the Pantheon. Let's get on with it. Have some
Let's
proper
bid me
story.
this up
You're
a
gonna-
little bit.
you're gonna-
Let's get
you're
some
gonna have a-
science back in the show.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Probably.
That's all I can say.
But I just, it's
With all that.
it's building up to something, and I don't feel like it's building up to much. And I would happy to be proven wrong, but it doesn't. That's not a whole lot to do with this episode. I liked where the guy who's stuck in the projection room, when they introduce his wife, she's in black and white and sort of fades into color. I thought
Yeah,
that was a really
pretty
cool move.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people compare this to Devil's Court, and yeah, structurally they're right, but I didn't think it was as stupid as Devil's Court. I just massively disliked Devil's Court, and I didn't. And maybe it is similar, but I didn't care. It was fine.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I actually liked when the two characters were animated and they got more definition to them as they went on. Because, and also I did I've seen people criticize their over the top acting, but I'm like, I thought that was intentional. They're in a cartoon, and that's why they're acting this way. You know?
And they shot it sort of live, they
Mm-hmm.
not rotoscope, but as it they showed shots of them in the green screen and
Mm-hmm.
jumping apart and doing the things and doing the backing up with the car goes by, all that was sort of done live. I thought it would have been done voiceover after the fact, but no, they actually performed that.
And I like how the doctor goes, I don't know. I only have a two-dimensional brain. I'm like, that's not bad. They were playing around with that stuff. It was kind of amusing.
There was a whole massive theme about two-dimensional characters all throughout it anyway.
Well, they
Anyway,
should have watched the Robot Revolution last week then, if they wanted two-dimensional characters. Because they were just there to say lines and move. They were basically talking scenery last week.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
how...
Well, that's what the kid at the diner was.
He got on my nerves.
Every single character in the episode is 2D. Every single one.
Yeah.
There's Brits playing Americans, and then there's that guy. Oh golly, what's going on? Gee
Yeah, I
willikers.
know.
Okay, that's enough, dude.
I'm doing my American accent, not like a South Florida accent, an American accent. That's all
very
you
much
need
a
to know.
British actor doing an American accent, and I don't think I could do one either. But I'm also not an actor, so
No, I'm sorry. I'm really Doctor Who's telling me. Well, when I remember when what was his name? The guy who played the sheriff who was in Farscape.
the guy from Farscape, yeah, Ben. I can't remember his last name.
Ben
Bren Browder.
Brent
Browder,
Browder,
yeah, right, yes.
legitimate American, or actually, the other guy, Cat's favorite actor,
Mark Shepard.
Mark Shepard. He does a credible one too, but even though he's British, whenever you get an actual American actor on the the show, it's just they've been doing it really wrong.
Or the guy that played Nixon. He's an actual American too.
Stuart Milligan.
Stuart Milligan's an actual American too. They actually, they feel, and so when they have people on, oh, you're not from there. Come on.
And there was a lot of that in this. I don't really care all that much about suspension of disbelief, whatever. I mean, if they're
suppose.
running around and pulling film and walking out of TVs and all the rest of it, then of course. But
That's true. Yeah.
so I didn't mind it, but am I going to go back to it? Probably not.
I'm trying to parse what you were saying about Lux being a little, inconsequential.
Yeah, he just kind of
It
wasn't
kind of
much
is.
to it.
I don't know. I'm not sure that I agree with that necessarily.
The one thing he does basically is he sort of just kicks Doctor Who and Belinda onto film, and they have to spend the next 15 minutes getting themselves out of. What happens during the time of that? What is Lux doing during the course of the time that they're
His little
stuck
dance,
in the
probably.
movie? Yeah,
He's the character. He's still a catalyst for most of what happens in the story. As I said before, you can create fire out of nothing because he's threatening.
He did suck the regenergy out of Shooty, so there's that.
Yeah. He put those 15 people on film. There's I don't know. I think you're not giving the character enough credit.
I feel like he should have been.
I'm not going to say it was
No.
front and center like a Master episode or something like that necessarily, but
I feel
I think he did more than was. Yeah.
I think that he should have showed up in the animated world. Maybe instead of going to the world of Doctor Who fan. No, but in their world. He should once he put Doctor Who and Belinda into the film.
Yeah.
I think he should have showed up in there
He
to taunt
did.
them or something. When did he do that?
He drove by in the car.
The
you're right, he did. I totally
was
forgot
he in the
about
car?
that.
I totally missed it.
He
That
was,
he was in the
driving
car,
the car that goes by them.
and that was it. That was it.
Neil,
Come on.
Neil
There should have
was
been
saying
more.
Neil is saying in the chat,
Right.
the most likely limitation is the cost of doing it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's true.
Because if you watch, as you watch Unleashed and all that kind of stuff,
That's true.
Which I'm sure we'll get to in more detail later. They spent a lot of time, a lot of manpower.
And I bet you the big money is that
hours.
3D effect because it looked great. Like that was a fantastic effect.
It worked. I mean,
So having less of Lux definitely makes sense in in that sort of a capacity. But again, he does a lot of stuff that off screen as well. I think you're underestimating the character's impact.
I think it's time for the pedants list to happen here, Chris.
We'll get to
Stephen
it.
hasn't said anything. Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm in no rush. I'm sure nobody else is either. But yeah, he does appear in the anime. It's for however many minimal number of frames.
Oh God,
but
yeah,
he's there.
I didn't even
either,
notice.
so.
I watched it twice. I never noticed him. When I'm playing out in front of me here, when it comes up again, what diner is open at 4 a.m. by the way? And
24-hour diner.
In 1952, did they have those?
Sure, of course.
I think so. Probably. They do it for the purposes of the story.
All right. Just curious. Why is she there? She doesn't look like she's been up since 4 a.m. They look pretty bright and cheery for 4 a.m.
Because she's there all the time because her son
looking for her kid,
went
yeah.
missing at the plot. So
because that's what her.
did you even watch this? You said you watched it twice, huh?
No, I know I am. Stay up to 1. I liked it.
Denny's is 24 hours for criminals.
Well, I know, but it's 1952. I don't know when 24-hour thing happened.
1952.
Curfews. Weren't there curfews back in those days?
Well, they addressed that it's a good thing they're there at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Like maybe we shouldn't be showing ourselves, which, like, again, I'm glad they did address that.
Uh-huh. I liked it. I mean, the reveal and them walking up to the thing and like the 2D animation, even the film effect. You could tell like if there's a film effect going on there. It actually it fooled me into thinking, did they shoot part of this actually on old film stock? They didn't. They just put a filter on, but
digital.
it fooled me.
It was okay.
The fact that it was like hand drawn animation, even though it wasn't on paper, because who does that?
It's still
anymore?
hand drawn.
It's still hand drawn. You could tell that it wasn't quite as fluid.
It does have that feel to it. Yeah,
it did. They just nailed that aspect.
There's this is image stuck in my brain. So like as far as the cartoon with Sunshine and Ring-a-Ding, with the whole like just their bodies just kind of like in constant motion, waving back and forth and back and forth. I can't remember what it is I'm thinking of, but I've got this image in my mind of some of the cartoon doing that with like there's a anthropomorphic daisy.
Steamboat Willie does that. There's a lot of
Steamboat
movement.
Willie.
A lot of those old ones do because it just
too.
further convinces you something's happening, right?
Yeah.
And they could. Like this is radically new at the time. Let me just talk about one thing I didn't like, which is when they're leaving, the Doctor and Belinda are leaving the fans, and the music just goes out of control, and I'm just like Murray
Gold must be
down.
stopped. Murray Gold must be stopped.
like I'm very touched by this little bit here. I don't need you to emphasize. I'm not an idiot. Just please turn it down.
The first scene after the opening titles is Doctor Who and Belinda rehashing dialogue from last week, which is 3 minutes prior to them. They're saying the entire thing they just said at the end of the episode. As you know, we're trying to get you back to and the music is just and like, come on, he's lying under their TARDIS console. Just let the music let the scene play out. Why does everything require jumping music to get the it creates this artificial pace to it all that I'm
it feels
really
disingenuous. It's like we're trying to pull this out of you.
Pace.
Yeah.
And you already I've already touched by the scene. I don't need you to help.
Yeah.
For the most part, music still doesn't register for me. Never will. But even I can say that his music so far this series is a bit of a travesty.
It was, well, I mean, the stuff that's playing in the Doctor Who thing is the Sad Man in a Box music from the Matt Smith.
Which people are like trying to divine meaning from, and I'm like, I don't think they're any.
I think they're just because they're fans, and it's sort of like they're not just. I haven't got anything for this. Let's just find my file of 2013 there, pop that in. No, I think it's there for a reason. But
one of you guys was saying last week about music reused in like older music used in Robot Revolution, right?
I think so, yeah.
possibly.
I can't remember the specifics, but
But that's a standard thing. It has been for a long time.
I mean, part of it is probably Murray Gold. Part of it is, I think, the producer. I think Phil Collinson loves his quick edits, and he loves his music in things. I think you could tell a difference between Murray Gold's usage in the Stephen Moffat era compared to this. I think there's a lot more happening, even in that, like compared to the RTD1 era. There's way too much going on.
I would agree.
In these
Sega
episodes.
Nakanola's music was just different. It was more moody, so it didn't really apply the same way.
It just feels like the episode is like 50 minutes long. It's been cut to 40. This is just the perception. 50 minutes long, cut to 45. We have to cover up sort of the energy that we lost in the edit so let's put some music in. Scenes could build so much better, especially the opening title, the pre-title sequence. I think could have been like, we're expecting him to like start talking, like nothing builds up. There's no tension being built. It just like cuts to this. Everyone's going, oh, wow, that's really unusual. Like 3 seconds into him being slightly unusual, they cut back and he's like, there should have been like more like space in between. Wait, are you talking to me? And he's sort of like maybe a beat thinking, yes, like just build the tension a little bit. But they got to get those cuts in, cuts in, What do we do when the cuts are? Well, let's get the music going as well. It's just like, it's all too much. It's all too much. And it affects my enjoyment of the episodes, quite frankly.
Maybe
why is this on multicam videotape? Come on.
Yeah. Maybe I've got a style that I just don't realize. But one of my favorite composers who does mostly TV work that I've seen, Atlee Orverson, who does some Dick Wolf stuff. Just this is very second actional, and that it's like just very like deep and bassy and atmospheric and oh man, I miss that.
Yeah, I do miss it. I don't want to sound like I'm a bad Doctor Who fan, but it's just
this is also a larger thing with Murray Gold's different because it's more orchestral. But like the fact that over the last 20 years, Hans Zimmer music, which can be great.
Yeah.
I know Neil's going to Neil, just to stop you right here. I think the Dune soundtrack is phenomenal. I think he's really good, but everybody else rips him off. So you don't hear like the John Williams or the Jerry Goldsmith, or although that style of stuff anymore, really, not that much.
Hans Zimmer also doesn't write a lot of his own stuff.
But still, that style has been adopted by everybody.
People who work under him or for him. So.
That style is what gets adopted. And that's just a larger trend you can't do anything about, but... And it's also me being old and going, these were better back then. Remember?
Yeah. Did anybody else like me, when the signs fell off, the letters fell off the sign and it said H. Harbinger, I went, oh no.
My eyes may have rolled a little.
I literally said, oh no.
A little bit. Yeah.
Here comes the laugh, and they go,
going back to the structural, and I've got at least one more thing to raise on this at some point. Going back to the structural similarities between this and Devil's Court. I mean, the same thing. Right. We had, H. Harbinger, the kid playing piano, or the other guy, whatever.
I know.
It was the kid, not the teacher. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so same thing there. And we've got Lux coming out of the screen, just like we had Jinx Monsoon coming out of the piano, and it's on my list, but I'll bring it up now. The wardrobe scene when they're, this is the best part, babes, or whatever the line is, and they run off to the one door and then immediately pop out the other one. Same thing happened in Devil's Court when
I love that. That amuses me to no end. I don't know why.
So.
I know it feels like they're relaunching like they're just doing the same thing again, as if like. And the funny thing is, they made these 2 seasons back to back. Doctor Who hadn't aired yet, which we'll get to. I have a point about that to make as we get to it. As we get to the one scene, which will tie up most of this episode, I feel. Also, an interesting note, as I watched some animation on here, that one of the people who worked on the animation of this also worked on Roger
Who Framed
Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
which has never been bettered by anything.
No, and I was just watching the bit where like Shudigatwa is like walking off the stage, and the animated Mr. Ring-a-Ding is behind him, and it like slightly fake because he's standing in front of an animated thing. I was like, that is perfect. That is what it should look like. Damn it, it should be slightly fake on purpose, and that's what it was. And now that we learn that he also worked on Roger Rabbit, which is, as you say, Warren, perfect.
There's the technology so much better now, but it just doesn't hit the same way Roger Rabbit does.
No, it's just because you could feel, because there's actual tangible objects in the thing. There's like these little robot things moving trays around in the restaurant and stuff. They had to animate over that. Yeah.
Or I've seen people draw allusions to Cool World, like.
Oh dear, no, Cool World's garbage.
Whole different animal. The animation of this was the one character for the most part.
Right.
Done much better than Cool World. I'd like to hasten to add. Cool World is garbage.
World.
Bad.
I don't think it's a fair comparison to put this up against.
It's no Monkey Bone.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit or or Monkey Bone for that matter.
Also garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a soft spot for it. It's not a good movie, but I have a soft spot for it.
That's fair.
I mean, the attention to detail, I really think Gatwa is finding his role a lot more in this season already, in these 2 episodes. I feel like he's very much more doctorish.
Yes. He also, I mean, bear in mind, so I don't know, I can't remember what the gap was between when they stopped season 1 and started season 2. There was a bit of a gap in between.
2 weeks.
It was
go off
pretty,
to Comic-Con and then come right back and make season 2.
It was fairly minimal. But I would think that given how his schedule had to be created for the first season because of sex education and all the Dr. Light stuff, and his first major recording is the end of Dot and Bubble, which that's a task for anybody to have to tackle. Versus being there from the start and being available for a lot more during season 2. His attitude is doubtless going to be different.
Yeah. Well, I think it shows on screen. I think it's got a real handle on the character now. What else? What else about this could we say? I mean, it's weird. There are like 2 aspects of it that I didn't like, but overall, I think I enjoyed.
I didn't hate it.
The episode.
I see the chat saying these guys didn't like it. No, that's actually not true. There's a lot to nitpick, but I didn't hate it.
I started off by saying I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure how much I liked it.
Yeah.
The only 2 formal scores I've seen are Neil Perryman, who was in the chat. He gave it a 6 out of 10, and David Bickerstaff, who gave it a 3 originally, 3 out of 10, and then down to 2 out of 10.
I'd be closer to 6 or 7. 7 seems reasonable for me.
I have a question about animation, and this might tie into Lower Decks, so bear with me on this.
So try to control your invective, but
Star Trek Grant incoming.
What? Simpsons, Family Guy, whatever. Why does animated things? When something is animated, is the default thing to become immediately self-referential? Is the one thing that I don't understand. Like all of a sudden,
it's tougher to avoid. It's like the temptation is far more there because you can do it. I think.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of meta commentary within a show, which is why I immediately within 12 seconds bounced off Lower Decks, because they just immediately started making references to Worf's Batleth and everything else, and like the credits hadn't even rolled in Lower Decks, and I was already I'm out.
Here's the thing. That's not just animation anymore. That's not just Star Trek, other shows too. But Star Trek live action is just as guilty of this nonsense.
Yeah,
at least Lower Decks is funny.
I know what you mean, and Doctor Who has flirted with meta self commentary in the past a little bit. Even I kind of, as much as I found it amusing at the time, when Missy comes in, I'm Doctor Who, and this is my my companion's comic relief, and
to be fair to RTD, Moffat did delve into these depths as well
a little bit. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fan scene.
Go for it.
We might as well. We got to do it. For some reason, I don't know where it was. I think I heard that, there's like 3 actors who are playing Doctor Who fans in this upcoming thing. Was it like Radio Times or it was somewhere like
something that hit a few days
across
before.
I don't go for like spoilers, and I found like, there's Doctor Who fans in this episode. What does that mean? And so when I realized like, they're going to come through the screen. Oh no, this is it, isn't it? They're going to do this, and there they were. Doctor Who and Belinda come out through a living room, and they meet people who are fans. Oddly enough, instead of loving monsters, the one thing that I thought of, the first thing I thought of, was the Savages, believe it or not. Because
please explain, because that makes sense.
Which is out now on Blu-ray in the UK, nothing out here in North America. But like Doctor Who, I always call them Doctor Who now because it annoys people. I like it. And Stephen and Dodo land on this planet, unnamed planet, I think. And Jano welcomes the Doctor in, and he goes, "Oh yes, we've been following your adventures through space and time and stuff. Oh, you're like they're basically fans of Doctor Who on this planet. Well, they know of them. They've been following them for their charts and everything. Oh, you're the foremost people in time travel. And everything. How do you know this?" And that was one of the first thing I thought. And then oddly enough, in episode 4, Jano tries to become William Hartnell himself and like adopts the mannerisms and everything. It's such a weird episode. I can't wait to see how they animate all this.
But somebody in the chat mentioned the Mind Robber, and they're right about that. And also Osgood, it was very this is Feast of Stephen, where he talks to the camera. Like this has happened before.
I know the Mind Robber has basically waved away a lot of these into these crazy episodes in the past. I've just got to the bit where the car drives by. I have to watch this to see if it's him in the car. There he is. Okay, that was such a cameo. Wow, that was That was barely noticeable.
But he's
Okay.
there.
I mean, I didn't mind the fan part. It was fine. Like, if it had gone on any longer, I probably would have started rolling my eyes. But just as it was, it was a nice little, hey, hat tip fans, we love you too kind of thing. And also going, we know we're annoying. I'm like, RTD knows the deal. He's one of them.
I mean, he says he's one of them, but he's also like, he thinks they're annoying, I think. I think he's...
Well, I mean, okay, have you never met an annoying Doctor Who fan? Come
I know
on.
that.
Some would call us annoying Doctor Who fans, and they would be right.
Like, would three, fully grown adults in a house just assume that they are walking out as, like, would they not think that they were the actors playing them? You know, the fact that they buy into the fact that it's complete fiction, it feels weird to me. They would think, oh my God, it's Shudigawa and Varasethu coming through my TV. No, they think they're Doctor Who, but like they actually think they are.
Listen, if somebody walks through your TV,
right?
I would be that's a level of believability. If somebody's actually walking through your television,
I would still probably think they were actors if I was a thinking adult. Maybe that was the first clue. These are just caricatures in this animated film.
Your good lady wife, Stephen, kind of hit the nail on the head, saying, "I hated, then loved the meta fandom."
Is that how you felt?
I will say again, every character in the story is 2D.
That's true.
They are going to be limited. They say themselves, "We don't exist.
Right.
We are not the kind of people who have last names."
That's true.
Which I thought was a nice dig at himself.
There's I think it was, the execution was very cringy. I cannot say otherwise.
Yeah.
But the presence, the context, the characterizations, all excellent.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I didn't mind it. So
I see what you get again. I see, and then they do appear at the end. So I guess they do survive. I guess to be real fans, or are they not? Spinning top.
And even within the context of things like, who was Hassan was the name, right? I've got it in my notes anyway. But the person in the middle even says,
Hassan,
it's puppets that want to become real, not cartoons.
Yeah.
So they kind of get the puppet treatment if that's what actually does happen with the second scene over the closing credits.
Overthinking this, honestly, but.
Yeah, the one thing that jumped out at me is, if it almost feels like RTD is trying to, self-deprecate himself by listing his own episodes as things. Remember the one with goblins? That was
really funny.
Oh, what about the one where I met the Beatles? Or no, they all say blank. What I found funny is that, this is made before either of those episodes aired. So it's like, did he think so highly of them that they would be the best when, maybe they weren't going to be, because people's opinions of them differed.
And in Unleashed, RTD even aligns himself with the fans. He's like, I am one of these.
Right.
So, I mean, if he's making fun of anybody, he's making fun of himself.
I don't know. I don't think he's been that kind of fan for a long time. Maybe he has. I don't know. I feel like he has some disdain for fans. Just a slight bit. I don't know.
He certainly had his chance in the time between the end of time and Ruby Road.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but this is shot like January 2024. It's a long time ago, and before any of this aired, for months. So.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a big problem with the fan thing, I think it's just that I wish there was more time to cover it off. Like, they're only on screen for a few minutes, but the story is
what it is.
The story doesn't allow for any more time than that.
And part of this, Stephen, is your disdain for meta commentary generally. So
a lot of it is. That's
not me talking you down. Like, you can like or not like what you want, but
yeah, it's the meta aspect of it all. I know. I think literally, let's face it, all genre properties are getting way too self-referential. I mean, and also the one.
That's why you like Andor, because it isn't.
It isn't. That's the thing. That's exactly why.
It is to
Rogue One.
Yeah. Rogue One.
But that's storyline more than anything.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, it's I think it's a more epidemic issue than just even that. Like, just with what movies are coming out.
Right.
Nothing new.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, typically, it's remakes, reboots, rehashes, continuations. It's the whole media industry, televisual media industry, is just so
risk averse. That's why they do it, because
It is risk averse. Yeah, we need to it is. It made me think about when they're the scene where they're saying, "Oh, what about these inferior episodes?" No, but they like Blink better, which I do like. Oh, that sounds like an absolute epic. Says
that's pretty good.
I saw
R.I.P. Doctor Who.
I saw one review mention how I'm shocked they keep saying Blink, because in like Doctor Who magazine, Blink's no longer the best ever. Things like Heaven Sent are above it and whatever. I'm like,
I mean, I did say to myself internally, why didn't they say Heaven Sent? Because that is the best one. But
yeah, Blink was probably funnier to say. I don't know.
Of course. Yeah.
It is. The funny thing is that like I mean, Marvel kind of does this a lot too, which to their detriment is that they'll basically have characters that have come after like the Avengers and stuff, and they all go on about how great the Avengers are when you're not watching the Avengers. It's like, I could have been watching Blink. You're right, Blink is a great episode.
When Poochie's not on the screen, Blink. All the characters should be talking about Poochie.
Right,
I've said this before, you can blame a lot of this on Joss Whedon and his very clever writing that was very good at the time, but that quippy nod and a wink stuff then infected the larger body, and then here we are. So
yeah,
I definitely think that I liked that RTD poked fun at himself. I've met the Beatles, and didn't you like the Goblin one? No, we like Blink. It's like it is very self-deprecating.
Well, it feels like it's self-deprecating,
and I like that. And also, it's a nod to his colleague Moffat. What it
also is amusing is that I think he's like self-deprecating, but they really like it. I know. Actually, we really do like Blink a lot better than those other 2 episodes of yours that you wrote. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, again, for seeing oneself in those fan characters, I don't know that I would say Blink is my favorite overall.
No,
even from the new, from 2005 onward. But
it's pretty great.
It was better. So. It was a good joke. It was better for the joke for it to be.
Yeah,
but I can guarantee you, it's not going to be an RTD story that I would rank as number 1.
No. All right. This is hilarious that the 3 Doctor Who fans talk most about the scene involving the 3 Doctor Who
what
fans.
A surprise. Yeah.
Welcome to every other podcast out there probably too, Chris. You've written a page and a half of notes about this scene and what is in the background that you noticed. What have you noticed?
Am I starting there?
Let's do it. We were talking about it. We might as well go into it. So what do you got?
I'm just going to get into my notes on that scene in general here. Just got to find where they are on the list here.
Scroll.
Bear with me a second.
While you do that, I will just say that the Harvest Bringer, not an actual movie, but it says Harbinger. So there we go. Just so you know, anytime you see anything that starts H-A-R and then Inger or something like that, we're almost that close to like Harvey Wallbanger. Is like, oh my God.
It's coming.
There's no I in Harvey Wallbanger, though.
No, there isn't, but there could be.
So, Harvest Bringer does not actually exist. One of my notes. Cool. Tick. Done. Yeah. Okay, so for the fan scene in general, I knew this was going to happen because it leaked online.
Right.
So there were set reports and photos and stuff of the
I didn't know.
of the Harbinger marquee.
Yeah.
Because it was in a public space in Penarth.
In Penarth, near where Ed Stradling lives, but yeah.
So yeah.
Former Doctor Who documentary producer Ed Stradling lives in Penarth, and he had his morning commute derailed for several days because of that shoot. Anyway,
so I mean, I don't know if that's a direct note to that. I mean, obviously, it was being shot and written. It was written before it was shot, and it doesn't mean they couldn't have changed this or that. But anyway, that's the comparison I drew. Mm-hmm. Timey-wimey was referenced in the Robot Revolution, and now we've got them all talking about Blink here. Is this going to be a thing?
No.
I had a very sad, self-deprecating laugh over the fans being annoying. Are some actual Doctor Who fans upset about the scene with the fans because they don't see themselves middle-aged white men in there?
We already talked about that.
We already talked about that.
Yeah. Are Doctor Who fans upset? Yes.
And then, all right, so as far as the Zaprudering, as Stephen calls it, is concerned, so from what I noticed, and I'm sure this is definitely not an exhaustive list.
Nope.
So we've got a 4th Doctor scarf. Mm-hmm. According to Kat, it looks very authentic.
Is it now? Is that just judging by the? I mean, it's brand new. It's fresh out of the package. It's probably the BBC shop version of it. I'm assuming.
Very probably, because I don't foresee them necessarily, commissioning somebody to knit one for 2 minutes on screen.
No, so not Lady Nostradamus either.
So I don't know if Kat might chime in the chat about the scarf. I don't know. Anywho,
Right.
1970s unit logo shirt.
Yes,
Yep.
nice.
Fez.
Yeah, Fez is first seen. Yep.
Yep. Beep the Meep shirt.
Yep.
Pertwee Sonic screwdriver.
Pertwee Sonic. Yeah, that's right. Saw that in there. Tell us. Did you say Tell Us shirt? I can't remember if you did or not.
Not yet.
I love that shirt. I want that shirt. Yeah,
Tell Us shirt is the next thing with the old Tomb of the Cybermen style Cybermen logo.
Probably freely available at Forbidden
specifically
Planet.
referencing Telosian Cybermen. I think that's great.
A poster for Fine Time showing the creature from Dot and Bubble.
Oh,
I never noticed that. There I am. Looking at that.
Yeah, that's because you didn't actually watch it, Stephen. Multiple Blu-ray and DVD sets, including some of the collection series.
Yeah, saw those. Saw
three or four of those.
Yep, see those out of order. Just saying.
Some
action figures on the shelf. On the very top shelf, it looked like Martha Jones.
Excuse me is a proper term.
Action dollies.
Action dollies.
Action dollies. Thank you.
Some action dollies on the shelf. What looked like Martha Jones. This is blurry, distant kind of.
Yeah, it was tough to tell.
I like court of law never going to work. But
mildly
Martha Jones
surprised
on the top shelf.
that like Unleashed or something didn't do a deep dive through all this.
Yeah, actually, I am too.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Looked like what's probably the pig creature from Daleks in Manhattan. Maybe a Mox of Balhoun. I couldn't quite tell, but there's more than that. It was just indistinguishable.
I think a Silurian is leaning up against one of the Pertwee box sets, isn't it?
I think it could be a Silurian, could be a Sea Devil. For sure, that's the
obviously,
leftmost of the three.
Obviously, a hat tip to the war between the land and the sea coming up.
Yes, obviously.
It might be. Yeah. It very much might be.
Are these nerds going to be in that too? Are they going to be watching the war between the land and the sea?
Sure, why not? Bring it back.
Oh, what was your favorite Doctor Who spinoff? Children of Earth. You maybe not the class one? No, Children of Earth. Okay, all right. Yeah. Anyway.
On a couple of them have their names on their mugs. Lizzie's mug says "Lizzie, don't blink." Hassan's says "Affirmative, Hassan," and the other one
on the
is
other side there. Nice.
Picture of a Dalek for Robin.
On the other
K9
side,
is on that mug too.
On Robin's, I've got a different screen grab up, and it says "Robin will be hydrated," is what it says on the other side of her mug. So
they all have their names on there.
Yeah, there's a K9 one for. So they all have.
It says "Affirmative Hassan" for Hassan.
It's K9 on the other side of the logo on there too. So just so you know.
So
we see both sides.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what I noticed.
Okay. Nothing else in terms of okay. Well,
you mentioned, Stephen, there's a poster of Shudigatwa, like on a different wall that's
But I think it's just there for. No, I did. But it's in Unleashed or the other one. The just behind the scenes. Well, one of the two, they show the camera, and then behind him is that the one where Shudigatwa's got the rainbow colors behind him, and he's reaching out like into the out to the poster. You know what I mean? I think it's the official art. That I think might be, the official BBC art. But anyway, it's there.
Yeah, and you have a birthday gift idea from your wife for her in the chat there now.
She wants an affirmative Erica mug. Also, I thought it was pretty bang on where they had Verity Sethi doing her best impression of Pamela Nash by swiping all the film cans into the middle of the floor and wanting to set fire to them.
I was saying to somebody that if I was in charge of the production design, I would totally write like Marco Polo episode 3 on one of them.
Like it's got to be on there, right? Somebody's got to write something.
The only label I could actually make out, and I didn't really freeze frame to but the one he grabs actually does say Mr. Riggeding. Something on it.
I would love, and this is a lawsuit waiting to happen, to have it say property of Phil Morris.
Just throw it in. Don't even mention. He is a vile human being.
There's no way they would do.
But just burning what he does would be.
I had a similar thought as well.
Yeah. Is that it for the scene that is causing so much ire for Doctor Who fans and podcasters alike?
Those are the only notes I made about the scene.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than what we've already talked about. Like I said, I think the execution is cringy. I don't think there's any way.
There's no way not to be cringy.
There's no way you couldn't have done it differently, or for a different outcome. But on the whole, I think it's
fine.
fantastic.
It was totally fine. Like, I didn't mind it at all. And it was a little touching at the end. Thank you, Murray Gold, for adding to it when I didn't need it. But I thought it was quite touching at the end. It was kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the death of Lux himself, sort of floating up into the sky and becoming light, basically, and dissolving into the stars?
I didn't think about that point Warren raised, where why does he go from 3D back to 2D?
Probably because it's money. Because
it's the one that I think because he's becoming real, and then he realizes, I don't want to be real, I want to be light again, and so that's why he becomes.
But also, just in terms of VFX craft, it's a lot easier to make something look good in the dark than it is to make it. So if he's out in the sunshine, it's that much tougher to make that 3D model look good. I'm sure they could do it, but it looks cooler in the dark with the light kind of back, like they backlit him, and so you see his hair and stuff, and that looks cooler.
His almost like basking, almost Christ-like pose. Like they're not reusing assets there. They're having to
that's
do that
true too.
fresh for the scene.
Yeah. And it's the Lux that we all like, let's face it.
It's not the end of the world that they did it that way. It was just puzzling. That's all.
Yeah. And then at the very end, the 15 people just pop out, and they're fine.
Yep.
I'll talk about that.
They're kind of like in the Marvel
Steven,
movies.
did you watch this story? Did you watch this episode?
They were trapped in there. I know he said that, like, you answer the question and you'll free them. Is that what he said?
No, I mean, I'll get to that when I get.
Well, we're there. We're what do you got? What else?
All right. Okay. I'm just gonna go for the top here.
There we go. Here we go.
Right off the bat, he says. Ringening says, "Don't give me sunlight. I'm more interested in moonlight."
Right.
So there's your ending right there.
Okay.
Don't give me sunlight.
Right. Oh, he's saying it right there. Right.
Almost right off the bat, he says that.
Right.
After after he comes to life from the moonlight, which I mean, it also what a fun and unlikely coincidence to have the moonlight, go through the transom or the skylight, whatever, hit the spoon, hit the nail or screw or pin or whatever's holding in the poster, and then bang. So it's like Rube Goldbergian,
right?
To the next level almost.
Well, that kind of fits the theme, really.
Kat says, I don't think it's mill knitted.
No,
I'm assuming that means it's hand done. I don't know.
That's a knitter term that I don't understand.
No, it wasn't done by the mill, the VFX company. That is.
They spent enormous amount of money on VFX in the scarf.
Or milk, for that matter.
Or milk, yeah.
You could tell the fans were fictional as their box sets were out of order. Oh, Ian.
Absolutely not.
Ian. He should don't look at my shelf.
Don't
look at my shelf.
If you look at Chris's live stream right now, it's complete.
Well, those are books. None of those are.
Oh,
those
I
are
know.
books. Those are in order.
Yeah.
Well, broadcast order.
That's priorities.
Broadcast order for the targets and release order for the new adventures.
Right.
And whatnot. Where am I here? Okay. The closed scene echoes the same thing happening with Ruby in Devil's Cord, just different camera angles. I loved the outfits in general and Shooty's hairstyle. That kind of like the weaving is kind of the right
wavy
That's
really
called
cool.
in the autobiography of Malcolm X. They called it conking at the time. And that was
really?
There's a scene at the beginning of the movie Malcolm X where he has that done. They put lye in your hair and it burns basically, and it hurts like hell. And that's right. It's in the beginning of the book and it's in the beginning of the movie too.
Okay.
Maybe that's
I don't know
a
if
wig
it's
then.
quite the same thing, but that's the style. Yeah.
We know from Unleashed that Varda Sethu's hair is a wig because they show a few different options that they had considered, and the one they went with is far and away the best. But I don't know.
She looks great in that hair. She
does.
Yeah.
I don't know if Shooty's hair was a wig or otherwise. I'd be tempted to say wig.
I would assume so.
There we go. Erica says he was wearing a wig in Unleashed.
Oh, okay, there we are.
He's not going to burn his hair for the show. Why would he?
Yeah.
No. But I mean, just because that's the early Malcolm X days, what we're talking about, 40s here, 50s.
Yeah, it's 40s hair. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure they have different.
I'm sure it's a lot easier now than it was
years
almost
later.
100 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roll Over Beethoven did not exist in 1952. It came out in 1956.
I mentioned
I told you I was getting pedantic.
I mentioned that to Erica. She's fine when they're in the TARDIS. It's fine, I suppose. What songs did come out in 52 though? Like rock and roll wasn't even a thing yet. So like to sort of pretend it's like rock and roll. It's kind of like that's kind of
Isn't Roll Over Beethoven one of the ones that gets abused a lot with that? It's just good to use, so people it actually never fits with the time that in whatever movie or TV show it's in.
Yeah. I mean, California Soul wasn't out in 1965 either when they went to see the Beatles. So
I just like to pedant myself. The last guy who should be talking about black people's hair is a bald white guy. So I just want to put that out there right now.
Yeah. That's fair. Or any of us really.
Mm-hmm.
The Harvest Bringer doesn't actually exist. So the cinema had an Academy ratio screen, which would be correct for 1952.
Oh my god!
Hell yeah! 4:3, baby. 4:3.
Yeah.
1.375 to 1.
All right, I take it back.
Oh god! Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back. This is
widescreen didn't come into any remote popularity until the year after 1953.
That's right. All the big. Was Ben-Hur the first one? No. I don't know.
Ben-Hur was 59. So
yeah. But that was because of television. They put out wider and wider stuff because of TV.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah. But yeah, the Academy ratio, roughly 4:3, was the norm for decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm giving the horns to. 4:3, baby.
Right.
I understand the need for how much segregation is mentioned, but it's sad that it needed to be, insofar as, man, people in the past sucked. And, well, I mean, there's some people.
Yeah, people. Have you noticed 2025? I've seen people complain about Shooty crying. I'm like, dude. He lives in 2025. Yeah. Why wouldn't that carry?
I know. The comments have been going, I'm scared that the reason I can't get you back because something bad is happening in 2025. It's just a dude.
Yep.
You don't know the half of it. Yeah. You do not know the half of it.
How prescient they were. I mean, he does cry in the scene with the fans.
He does.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that. Like, this doctor's emotional.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, and changes his outfit every time as well, and whatever.
Also cool. I love that he changes his outfit every
all
time.
those things that people are bitching about.
Yeah.
Belinda's indignancy about it might have been slightly misplaced, but it is reasonable because coming from the future, she's like, how, why, whatever.
Yeah.
I loved Shooty's facial expressions as he tries to hide his glee over investigating the cinema and the Velma scene.
That was a good
stuff. He's just like these...
Literally, a ghost or something, a haunted cinema. Yeah.
Tour de force.
Yeah. Oddly enough, his little head fake as he pointed reminded me of George C. Scott in Doctor Strangelove. When he's like, look at the big board. Just for some reason reminded me of it. That's all. Was he summoning George C. Scott in Doctor Strangelove?
You could do worse than summoning George C. Scott.
Probably not. Mm-hmm. The interchange between the Doctor and Belinda. Just the Doctor, always? Yeah. Ridiculous.
That was good.
That was very. I like this duo. I gotta say, I like this duo. I like the way they spark off each other.
Chemistry so far, for sure.
Yeah. She doesn't take anything. Doctor Who oftentimes, like anything, Doctor Who needs any property needs its Han Solo to sort of like poke holes in it when it sounds a little too up on itself, And I think some companions, I think Ruby Sunday was just like, oh wow, this is all amazing and everything's fun and fantastic.
And there's a place for those companions too.
There are, but it's fun to sort of like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. It's silly. Like just the Doctor, really, that's dumb. Come on.
Well, it's like Donna was kind of that too, as well.
That too, yeah. It's nice to have these little shots of reality sometimes, and that's what Belinda does.
One remark from the comments from David. I thought the race issue was handled well. Yeah, I don't disagree for sure. It was certainly more in depth than we've seen before. So the two main examples that came to my mind were Shakespeare Code,
right?
Because Martha worries about being a black person in Shakespeare in England,
and they just wave it off. And
then obviously Rosa, in the restaurant cafe whatever scene. Where Ryan gets called out and I don't know if it had any. I might be reading more into this than was actually on the page, but in Rosa, Yaz, as a South Asian person or South Asian heritage person, was identified as Mexican, not Hispanic, specifically Mexican, but that's a typical word used in southern states,
right?
Versus Belinda here being referred to as Caribbean.
There was a in the credits. There was someone listed as a South Asian history correspondent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's in my notes as well. So yeah, the credits also include a nod. We're here. Credits include a projectionist advisor, Alex Cooper, who we see a fair amount of in Unleashed.
Yeah.
And a South Asian history advisor, Dr. Hardeep Dillon. And then for whatever it's worth, where the credits cut out to go to the scene, second scene with the fans. When they come back in, they are at the same spot.
I did like how they pulled out there.
What I'd like to know is, now you mentioned the fact they actually had a guy to like coach the actor Lucas somebody, I can't remember who played Lucas Cranky, who played Reginald Pye. They actually had a guy there to advise on how to operate a film projector, but they didn't have anyone on set to tell the people who played the Beatles how to hold their instruments properly. It was like, come on. I mean, Warren, were you like me when you saw him like threading stuff in there?
Yes, I was. I was like,
tapes,
this
1
is
inch
the good
tapes.
stuff.
I haven't threaded a 1-inch tape machine in like 20 years, but I feel like I could still do it from memory.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally was like, I remember that.
I like that the actor picked up on things like you got the 18-minute reels, you have to time it to the second, and like that would have been a tough job back in the day.
Yeah.
And also on Unleashed, where they show the sound is actually them just rattling film around a toaster, which is great.
I would
with the specific mention that it is not plugged in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned about how race was dealt with as three white guys talk about episodes mostly written by white guys talk about how the race is dealt with. Rosa being the only one
produced by white people.
I would like to hear more people of color refer to how that was referenced. Just to
we thought it was handled well.
We can only go by what we know. You understand? So if we need to know better, do let us know, because it is good to be informed on these things. Linus Roach, thank you, Lily. Yes. What else, Chris? What else on your list?
I got on here? Where am I?
Magical list here.
Belinda is wrong. Mr. Ringading is not a hologram. Hologram is defined as a 3D character. But
okay.
But the Oxford English Dictionary says the word was first used in the 1940s.
All right.
So Mr. Ringading probably would have been at least able to follow that conversation.
I do like the fact that he had to finish the song whenever they played it. And
I got to do this.
I like how he's slightly out of sync with himself when he's singing it, because geez, I got my 1 minute 36
and then
seconds.
when he hits the bridge and he's like, hi.
Yeah.
I sat there after watching it. I sat there trying to think, where have I seen this before? And South Park did the same thing 20 odd years ago, where Cartman can't. If Cartman hears the first words of "Come Sail Away by Styx,"
he
has to sing the rest of the song.
Right.
So that's
I mean, we've all been there.
That's what it made me think of.
Some people in the chat, whenever they see what's his name who played Spider-Man do the dance, singing in the rain and stuff, they have to retweet it. So that's the thing too,
Some people in the chat, including your wife.
Why can't I think of his name? Who's the guy that played Spider-Man?
Tom Holland.
That's
Tom
the
Holland.
guy. Tom Holland. Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that meme over the annoying meme when people would show Meryl Streep doing this, and I saw it so many times. I'd be like, "Oh God, I hate this. Is visually annoying." And I have nothing against Meryl Streep, but it just I don't need to see this meme over and over and over again.
Umbrella forever. There
Umbrella
we go.
forever.
Kenny Beth and Erica signaling in the chat. They are seen. What do you got? What next?
Around the same time, there's a super duper tight close up of Mr. Ringading, and he had some film grain superimposed, which I thought was
so good.
Fantastic.
It was so
great.
good.
Yeah,
the attention to detail on that bit. Like I said, the attention to detail and the historic detail of the Beatles, like instruments down to microphones and everything, was great. The way they held the instruments was awful. This was great. This was
a pedant off. Is that what we're having here?
It was great. You know what? You can tell. You can tell when they are faking it, is what I mean to say. And they weren't faking it. There were so many great little touches in making this feel authentic.
Even in Unleashed, Stefan Powell and Shooty are sitting there in the cinema, on the cinema set talking about the the ornateness and the attention to detail in that and whatever. So
yeah, there's too much legroom, but the set itself, oddly enough, was a rehash. It was a refit of the actual Abbey Road EMI Studios as used in The Devil's Court as well. But
and you would, I mean, professionals that they are, you would not know that just by looking at it.
Kind of mentioned a lot of people were talking about Alan Cumming was great in this. I thought
He was quite good. Yeah.
Doing his voice bits from New York.
I can't think of a bad Alan Cumming performance. So yeah.
No. Although I watched,
might be something out there.
No offense to Sam Watts, but I watched like 12 minutes of the Traders. And kind of thought, oh, this is not for me.
That's a reality show or whatever.
This is ridiculous.
That's a little different. I mean.
Alan Cumming is great in Josie and the Pussycats. That's a movie I saw a lot.
He's great as Nightcrawler in the X-Men movie. And he's coming back as Nightcrawler in the X-Men
movie.
And
I
don't know what
wasn't he
you're
in
talking
Spice World as well? Pretty sure he's in Spice World.
Everybody was in Spice World.
I never watched Spice World. Or the Nightcrawler show. Was that a show, Warren, or was that guy?
No, it was in
God. Why am I even entertaining you?
X2.
X-Men. But the X-Men are coming back in Avengers, whatever the hell, the new one. So
And Alan Cumming at age 60 is...
Listen, if you can yell and scream about how they're not holding guitars right, I can momentarily mention Nightcrawler Code, which has got Alan Cumming playing him, which is relevant to what we're talking about.
That's fine.
Just to get off this topic and move things elsewhere, I just want a couple remarks from Kurt Armbruster in the chat, which I think are poignant words of wisdom. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, my almost 11-year-old daughter absolutely loved it, and the show's made for her.
That's fair.
Not my 50-year-old white.
That's totally fair.
Well,
yes.
I agree.
Listen, here's the thing about
we are not the target audience. We have not been for years.
Here's the thing. Doctor Who has always had, I think, a wider breadth of audience in mind when they made Doctor Who. Dating back to the 1960s, I'd say probably when definitely when John Wiles came in. I think even Verity once in season 2. I think let's try and spread it out a little bit. I think those early episodes are really like hewn to the original. Let's make this educational kind of thing. And even throughout the 70s, I think the 80s probably skewed a little. The 80s I think tried to grow up with its audience. I think a little bit. So too did the Capaldi era. Let's face it. I think that's kind of like leveled up a little bit. But I always felt like I was sort of like, okay, I could see where kids would enjoy it, but kids like to also like stuff that they aren't necessarily allowed to watch. It's the danger of watching something that they probably like. If I'm lucky that my parents are letting me see this, because I feel like that's why they hide behind the sofa, because I'm too scared, but I can't stop watching because that's what's so enticing to it. And sometimes in the RTD2 era, I feel like it's being targeted directly more towards children. And what's kind of troubling about that for me is that it's made by the same people who made Doctor Who 20 years ago, none of whom had children then, and none of whom have children now. Chris Chibnall had kids that he could bounce ideas off. Stephen Moffat had kids who he could bounce ideas off of.
Or take ideas from.
The gap between the people who make the show who are in their 50s and 60s now and don't have children and are trying to like appeal to children, and I think there's a gap there.
Said by 3 people who don't have children.
No, we don't have children either, so we're not going to make children's TV because we don't have kids either. So that's actually a good point that Kurt raises that I wanted to get across.
Even things like the Beatles song about their dog, like I could see that being classified as kid oriented.
Yeah, but like kids must like that. They'll laugh at this, It's kind of what gets me, like Star Wars isn't a kids movie, but we loved it as kids. You watch Star Wars now.
I would argue it is.
I don't know. Uncle Ed Beru and Uncle Owen gets
okay. It was a 70s kids movie. It was a 70s kids movie.
But then you look at Phantom Menace and those are made more directly for what kids are. Like I feel like they are more targeted towards
I think they're all
kids.
For kids.
Yeah, but I feel like there were maybe good old Gen Xers that we are, and we,
The reason we love Andor is because it's an adult drama that happens to be about Star Wars. The reason I don't like Ashoka is I can't follow it.
Watch your Wii there, sir.
All right. Well, the reason I don't like Ashoka is that I haven't watched the animated stuff, and I'm not going to, so I can't follow what the hell is going on, and I don't care.
Right.
And on the Acolyte really did stream Kitty, but you know what? Fine, people dug it.
So.
Great.
Yeah.
Just,
I'll go and see my other thing that I like.
I want to get off this tangent so badly, but right. I'm going to ask one thing of you, Warren.
Okay.
Episode 3.
Revenge of the Sith. My point with this.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Did you like General Grievous?
I didn't mind him, but what the hell's his name?
General Grievous was fleshed out in Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
The first Attack of the Clones, or not Attack of the
the Jenny Tartakovsky one. Yeah.
Clone Wars. He was very fleshed out in that, which went out between episodes 2 and 3. but you know very little about him within the context of episode 3.
It's also a 2-hour movie. It's not. I don't
2.5.
have to watch 10 years of backstory.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like when Cowboy Johnson, where the hell his name is, shows up in Boba Fett.
My point being, if you can enjoy that character without knowing the backstory, without having watched that specific animated series, then you can enjoy Ahsoka.
Yeah, I can. I just didn't. The thing is, you have to have watched Rebels to understand what the hell's going on in Ahsoka. You just do. So, and I hadn't, and I'm not going to.
All right.
But the thing about General Grievous, sci-fi author Neil Stephenson said, if you don't,
just somebody click
no, hold on.
No, we'll
said,
wrap it up after this.
If you haven't seen that stuff or all the tertiary backstory stuff that they put out before the movie, he's like, it feels like he fell out of a Happy Meal. And he does feel like he fell out of a Happy Meal.
Right.
So anyway, that's my but I didn't mind because he's just a big idiot goofball who gets killed.
Right.
Yeah.
General Grievous appearing soon in Andor season 2.
probably.
April 22nd. Yeah.
Darth Maul's getting his own series.
Oh boy, hooray.
We're almost at double the length of the episode of
okay,
Live
sorry,
Star
I'm
making sure we go past 45.
Yeah.
Where am I here? Okay, so Mr. Ring-a-Ding says, he explains it as his coming to life. He says, I appeared, they disappeared, when the Doctor talks about the 15 people.
Right.
So I appeared, they disappeared was the explanation from Mr. Ring-a-Ding about the 15 people disappearing. The ending doesn't really discuss how they came back.
No.
Other than the reverse of what kicked it off in the first place. So technically, that's an explanation. He disappeared, they reappeared.
That's good lawyering.
I suppose it's kind of like, how does it go? I disappeared here, reappeared there. That's what the Doctor says about how the TARDIS dematerializes. I guess we'll just wave that. It did feel like, I thought it reminds me of the thing of that Simpsons episode where about biblical tales. Biblical tales where Ralph Wiggum is going, he appears out of nowhere after having died, and Bart goes, "Hey, Ralph, I thought you had died." Nope.
Well, they don't explain how Marvin Monroe came back to life.
Oh, right.
Well, I should definitely take flack for Star Wars talk, given this turned into Simpsons nonsense.
Yeah.
I was going to say with two verities in the chat, I'm happy to borrow their phrase hand waving and just be content with what we did get for.
Hand waving is fine.
Came back.
There's an economy to hand waving.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
There's only so many minutes in the episode, and again, this is shorter than Robot Revolution, so they had even less time to work with.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out. I still haven't figured out if it's odd or not that each and every white character in the episode calls the Doctor Sir, except for the cop. But
I did notice that.
He's an illusion.
You're right.
He's an illusion, so it doesn't count. But every single one called the Doctor Sir. Like, is that? I'm not sure if that's because none of it seemed to be in like a facetious or derogatory manner. So I don't know if these people
is that just Southern politeness? Like, I don't know enough of the South and Florida specifically to know how people.
If you
acted other than poorly.
If you think of the diner scene where the mother and the waiter, cook, whatever
guy,
guy,
Danny. I don't know what his name was, but
I can't remember his name.
G. Willikers, that's his name. Danny G. Willikers.
Both of them are talking about who's going to see it this time of day if a white person and black people sit together in the diner, things like that. So I don't know if it's just trying to paint these characters as more sympathetic, less racist. I don't know what the deal is, but
it's also shorthand, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's odd or not. Having Reg's wife be a plus size person is a nice change.
Yeah, that was true.
Quite often you get things like this as some bleached blonde, skinny mini kind of poison. Have you all noticed that every time we have an episode about God except the toy maker, it involves a spoon?
I hadn't, and I'm probably going to forget about it.
Had not noticed. I knew. Oh, that's the fan stuff. I'm going to skip past that.
Thank you.
Because we already talked about that. Don't make me laugh. Warren, you want to do yours?
Don't make me laugh. I was so sick of hearing that by the end of it.
Don't make me laugh.
Maybe that's by design. I don't know.
Well, there was no real. There was to go on, Chris. Yeah.
Don't make me laugh was said enough early on that it was obviously going to play a role.
Was it though?
Chekhov. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Chekhov's phrase, I guess.
Just so he could laugh like the toy maker,
but it didn't turn out as I expected. That the laugh would be the giggle. My initial assumption was the laugh was going to be some part of him getting destroyed, beaten, whatever. But it was obviously dispensed with a lot more quickly than that.
Yeah.
Reggie's wife, was she dead or did she leave him? She died. She was crossing the road. She got hit by a car.
Yes.
Yeah. Possibly the same car, ostensibly driven by Mr. Ring-a-Ding in the animated.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Cars were back then.
Oh man, I lost my place here.
Choking up my road, right?
Okay,
right.
2001 ending. Yay or nay?
The funny thing is that like he almost narrates it. Part of it was like his mouth isn't moving, and I thought, oh no, they didn't ADR this. I was just thinking, what if RTD had made 2001? Would there be ADR all over the place explaining what the hell's going on?
That'd be a far different film if he made 2001.
So just for a bit of explanation and context, Dave Bowman at the end of 2001 basically becomes for a 1968 film. Yeah. Suck it up, princess.
Great film, by the way. Everybody should watch it. It's excellent.
It's my favorite film of all time.
Dave Bowman basically becomes this omnipresent star child. The thing, just like Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
Death and creation, etc., philosophical, what have you. Over 15 minutes of light show stuff that people got watching back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And that good old AT&T video call.
A real trip.
According to Wikipedia, human adults are about 60% water by weight, so the doctor was correct, assuming Time Lords are the same ratio.
Good work.
Credits include, we talked about the credits. Last bit of my notes. The credits also include a nod to the American Humane Society on the Disney Plus version only.
Yeah, very weird.
Credits include a nod to the American Humane Society monitoring the animal action, that no animals were harmed because there's a dog in the crowd scene at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay.
But the Robot Revolution does not have that credit, despite there being a cat.
Because withdrawn in disgust.
Yeah.
However, Wikipedia says the American Humane Society supervised productions in 25 countries in 2024.
Oh, wow.
Making it not so weird that they're listed, despite none of the episode being filmed in the US.
Okay.
Gotcha.
It might just be boilerplate, too. You just put in every credit just so it's there.
Yeah. But like I say, the BBC version did not have the mention.
No.
Neither did Robot Revolution.
No, because there was no cat scene. We just saw the skeleton of the cat that was needlessly
You still see
killed.
the cat.
I don't know if you frame advance that. I think you basically see the skeleton of it being
No,
killed.
please don't Zapruder a cat death.
Yeah, don't.
So,
Still tasteless.
End of notes.
A week later. Thank God.
Yeah, not great.
Well, there we go. That was the most that we'll ever talk about Doctor Who Lux. Probably. Ever again.
Oh, he'll probably come back at the end for the big climax with all the gods or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like, honestly, the Harold Saxon stuff was way better seated than the Bad Wolf stuff, even though it got a little bit much at the end.
Right.
This just seems like, I don't know. I'm just not as interested in a bunch of gods, I guess, unless the Guardians show up.
I think the greater likelihood is going to be the toy maker. I haven't seen anything to say if Neil Patrick Harris was doing any filming for season 2. But the toy maker having been trapped in the tooth.
Oh God, yeah, the lady who grabbed the tooth, Mr. Fusus who grabbed the tooth that we haven't seen. They really,
and that is the Master's laugh. So who knows?
Toy maker's laugh.
It sounds like a Master's laugh to me, but okay.
But I'd say there's a greater chance of that than Lux coming back. But maybe it's both. Maybe it's neither. We'll find out. We'll know in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah. Well. Some other stuff in the show notes, but we've talked too much about the show anyway. Alan Cumming and director Amanda Bracci talk about Mr. Ring-a-Ding and how they brought Mr. Ring-a-Ding to life. That's in the show notes. Have a read about that. RTD has no time for Doctor Who too woke criticisms.
Fair enough.
Which is fine, actually.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. He even hinted at... He did an interview with Parade Magazine where he hints that he has ideas for seasons 4 and 5, even, despite his doom and gloom supposed message. Listen, I know that there are a couple of... there was a writing team, one a notable writer, one a relative noob, who had written the first episode of season 3, and we're waiting to see if it was greenlit. And I know another one who has written. So there's at least 2 episodes that were written for season 3, several months ago now, at least. So they're
RTD alluded to 3 is in the past as well.
Yeah. So
can I just make one comment about Unleashed?
Okay.
When Shudi and Stephen Powell, I can't do the
Stefan Powell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're talking about Pokemon. All I could think of was children. be quiet. Like, I did not need. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about right
Somebody
now.
mentioned Battle of the Planets or Astro Boy or something. Come on.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
Powerpuff Girls was mentioned
and
as
I know
well.
Pokemon is massively popular if you're like 20 years younger than me, but I was just like, I can't follow a word of this, so please stop talking about it.
I mean, and the most egregious part was nobody mentioned the best starting Pokemon, which is Squirtle. Come
I
on.
don't know what the hell you're talking about, and don't explain it to me.
No idea.
So.
No idea what's happening. I thought it was kind of cool. Stefan Powell gets the amazing honor of actually saying subscribe to the Doctor Who YouTube channel.
That was cool. Yeah.
And he did this one. It was in Welsh as well as English.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Was a thing. So
Just to quickly cover one thing that you missed, Stephen.
Mr. Ignored, probably.
Mr. Ignored. 7:20 p.m. for the Well.
I'll talk about that
BBC
at the end of the episode. Probably we mentioned next week. There's also a Q&A with the designer who designed Scoot, the little guy from Scoot, little robot from Robot Revolution. So there's a Q&A with the cat that did that. Michael Van Kesteren, who I thought said Michael Kerrigan, director of Battlefield. That is not the person who designed that thing. Coming out this week, Doctor Who Magazine 616. So what, previews of probably the next 4 episodes will be on there as well, I assume.
Yeah, including contributions from writers Pete McTighe, Inua Ellams, and Juno Dawson, and Interstellar Song Contest host Rylan Clark.
Oh my God.
Like, I can guarantee, audience, even if I did like this one, boy, you haven't heard nothing yet. When your Interstellar Song Contest comes up, it's not going to be good.
Let's just hope that Juno Dawson had a hand in writing those songs that are inevitably going to show up in there.
Actually, that was my other thing is, stop writing lyrics, RTD. You're not good at it. And neither am I, but I'm also not putting this on TV.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, that's coming out.
There's a tribute to Simon Fisher Becker in there, apparently. So.
There is as well.
Oh, okay.
And especially for me, I imagine Gav Reimel's all over this. We visit Riverside Studios for a close examination of 1967's The Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh.
Yeah. Old TV, baby. Next up in the Black Archive is Logopolis, coming out this month. It should be like right there. Like, you should probably buy it right now because it's April.
It says 81 in stock, so yeah, I guess
there we are. Yep. Also
published,
available
yeah.
as ebook. Those are great. Those are really great. The Black Archive books. This one's written by Jonathan Hay. That is out right now. Couple other books to come, which are things. It's like Scrabble for my images and stuff because there's a couple books coming out. One is Shirley Jackson and the Chaos Box, with where the 15th Doctor meets Shirley Jackson, who I don't know much about, admittedly.
Author, I think. Am I wrong about that?
That's coming out in June 2nd, June 12th rather. But Toddy Thompson has written One Night Only, a Fela Kuti story. Fourth Doctor
Explain
meets
Fela
Fela Kuti.
Kuti.
Fela
You have to
Kuti
explain to
is a legendary Nigerian musician and political activist of the 1970s who also had some troubling personal relationships with women. So
that's not great.
Complicated
What
fellow.
did you say? 27 wives?
27 wives at once. Yep. So there's that aspect as well. But the music though, I love Fela Kuti.
And this is a
music.
T-Bix story, which is even better. So
Yeah. So I'm fascinated to see what they do with this. So what's his name? The guy who played Luther, whose name I'm blanking on. Idris Elba.
Idris Elba?
His movie Sorrow, Tears, and Blood, is it? Yeah, the title is taken from a Fela Kuti song. So,
okay.
So there you go. That's coming out in August 12th. So that's
Renowned DJ Idris Elba?
Renowned DJ.
I would like to call out Erica's wonderful comment. Murray writes the music for the songs, and it also sucks.
That's
she
a
is
good
correct.
point. That's a good
hire a songwriter, RTD, full stops in between each word.
Yes, absolutely.
4 weeks
Tom
time.
Baker is wife number 28.
Yeah.
Wow.
From
why
Ian
not?
McCann in the chat.
Tom Baker. Anything you can't do?
Also, just for people in Canada, CanCon, we haven't had much of that this week, but the Season 7 Blu-ray set is now available for pre-order on Amazon. BBC Shop still remains unupdated for months. Something's gone with the BBC Shop. I think they've gone offline basically and haven't updated. There's no one there to update anything anymore. So the only place I can get these things is Amazon. I'd love to recommend other options for you. I can't. So we pre-ordered it.
Yeah, like with anything to do with physical media these days is getting harder and harder and harder and harder in general. Like even like 4K movies are idiotically expensive, hard to source.
Yep.
Because they just aren't making as many as they used to.
That's Criterion's for it, which is also idiotically expensive.
Criterion has always been expensive
And selective too,
And selective.
Yeah.
Well, they've really broadened things in the last.
I mean, I paid
decade or more,
$120 for my Laserdisc of Lawrence of Arabia, and it was worth every penny, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, June 3rd is coming out. The War Games in Color DVD is starting to coming out. Blu-ray's coming out. My comp copy's in the mail right now.
Nice.
So I'll have that to talk about next week because, of course, there's an extra on it with me and Chris Hayden. Chris Hayden sent me a nice note saying that he received his Blu-ray, which is awful nice. And then he says, thanks for making this all happen. Says, Chris Hayden, thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, no kidding.
For editing the War Games and then hanging on to a copy of it for 55 years in the first place. So I'm looking forward to that coming out as well. Last bit of news, this happened early this past week, but the legend that is Gene Marsh passed away at the age of 90 or 91? 90. Former wife of John Pertwee, of course, actor in The Crusade and Dallas Master Plan at Battlefield, but was, also co-created Upstairs, Downstairs, for crying out loud.
I didn't know she was married to... I didn't know she co-created Upstairs, Downstairs.
Yeah.
But B, that I didn't know she was married to...
She co-created
61 to 65, yeah.
Co-create or fully create?
I think it was a co-creation. I'm not sure, but she was in it as well, and in Willow too. Willow fans will recognize her as that.
Willow is my first and best.
She was in some
most prominent
sitcom too
impression of her.
in the early 80s. I
Yeah.
don't remember the name of it, but I just remember seeing her on TV, and she seemed to be a better actor than this sitcom. Was
Right.
more worthy. The sitcom was not worthy of her talents, is what I'm trying to say.
Kind of like when Ian McKellen and Derek Jacobi were in
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Wicked.
Yeah. There's always that one actor who
Vicious,
shows up, and you're like,
Vicious.
Yeah.
and you're like, wow,
Vicious Old Queens or Vicious Queens, whatever it was going to be called, and then they changed it.
and they changed it just to Vicious.
Yeah. Which everyone just thought was a comedy about Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols. That's why I was canceled.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what's more funny than drug abuse and
Sid and Nancy's favorite comedy.
battery.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman. I'm glad you're not like that in real life.
Yeah. Derek Jacobi talking to us three idiots was way more entertaining than it was worth our audience. So he always gives his A game.
That's true. Well, that's it for this one, kids. Next week, hey, it looks like some proper Doctor Who.
Yeah, this looks like some good space horror. Yeah.
Scary stuff, spacesuits, wells, people, dark things, because there's no
RTD
lighting.
is very good at space horror. So
He can be very good. Impossible Planets,
horror
Satan
generally.
Pit is one of my favorite, even though Matt Jones wrote that. Quote
Midnight,
unquote.
which is kind of horror, body horror.
So I'm
Oxygen, which was not RTD, obviously, but
that's true. Yeah. So I'm greatly looking forward to this one. Our live stream, same time, same place, everyone, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time on Sunday, April 27th. Do join us for that, or tune in to our podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and you can watch us. And also, subscribe to us on Patreon. Help support the show on Patreon. There we go.
You can do it for Gail.
All right, we'll do it for Gail. I brought this wall from home. All right, that's is that it? I think we're done. I think we're done talking about this thing called Doctor Who for another week. So the rest of you can go on.
I've got another page of
lives.
notes.
We'll save them for next week or a Patreon bonus episode. All right, in the meantime, and in between time, elbows up, everyone. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.